I've learned how to have access to this kind of information using different ways like hypnotherapy. I go to bed asking to see what I have to see. Sometimes I wake up with an idea already in mind or knowing exactly what to do.
Allowing the brain to be quiet, but allowing that space for suggestion, I think is really powerful.
If you're a coach and you want to be successful as a coach, you got to remember that you now have a business. And the business needs marketing, sales, operations, systems. The business needs that support to exist. Revenue is how much you work for the business. Profit is how much the business works for you.
Welcome back to the Coaching Equation Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Lang, CEO and co-founder of Empire Partners. And I have got a special guest today. Mariana Lacombe is with me. So good to see you, gal.
Yeah, it's so good to be here as well, to be part of your podcast. I'm excited.
Oh, man. This has been a long time coming. And, you know, we've known each other. For a long time. And I'm actually really excited about this because, number one, I know there's going to be a lot that people are going to get out of this episode as we get into things like financial success and wealth creation and, you know, success in your coaching business and all of those things. But I'm going to be honest, I'm selfishly excited about this because I feel like I'm going to get to know some things that I don't know right now. So
I feel humbled to be able to share some of my experience here with you and your audience too, Ryan. So this is exciting. Yes.
Yes. Well, let's dive in. So you've had a long history in the coaching industry, but you didn't start there. You know, you had kind of your path and your journey to success. And take us back to a moment where, first things first, take me back to the moment that you had any interest in the first place in becoming a coach. Can you kind of remember when that was and what you were doing and what was going on at that time?
Yeah, so actually 2 moments come to mind, but I'm going to take us back.
Oh, love it. Way back.
I think that coaching is one methodology to tap into the psychology of success, of results, of strategy as well. And I say that because my first moment when I realized that I had to go deep with people and work with them, not only on the strategy, but also their minds, was when I was 13, 14 years old or so.
Wow.
I was doing therapy already because my family my parents were going through a divorce. And I remember my therapist was a dream expert. She specialized in young, and she would always ask me about my dreams, and I had no dreams whatsoever. I was the kind of person that would never dream. I thought I didn't have dreams, right? But one day I came to her office with a crystal clear dream, and I could write pages of it, like pages, Ryan. You know, it was crazy to me. I'm like, how can I know those dreams? How can I know those details? And I remember dreaming with very weird creatures. And I wrote on a piece of paper the word Chronos. And I wrote that, and I'm spitting that out. Like, I'm just telling her the dream. I'm so young. And she's like, what did you just say? I'm like, Chronos. Yeah, I wrote this in a piece of paper. And she was like, do you know what Chronos is or who Chronos was? I'm like, I have no recollection. I have no idea, right? I never heard that word before. So she grabs this gigantic book of Greek mythology and asked me to find Chronos. And then I opened the book and then I find Chronos. And Chronos was the first god of Greek mythology. And there was this whole story about Chronos. I'm like, how do I know this? You know, how did I have access to this kind of information? And the myth of Chronos was pretty much the metaphor of what was happening in my family system, where there was a new generation or a new phase of my family that was happening back then. And in the dream, I was Zeus, and Chronos was the representation of this old traditional way of having a family. And I was completely blown away, I must say. Like, how do I know this? And that was the first time I had access to the collective unconscious mind. And I was so young. So all of a sudden, I'm studying Jung, I'm studying psychology, I'm studying like every single aspect of the subconscious, the unconscious mind, ego, like all of those things. And I was really good with numbers already. I was one of the best students in my school, math students. And I'm like, you know what? Numbers are very easy for me. I'm going to study psychology. And my mom was so upset. She was like, what? You're going to study psychology? I thought you were going to study like business or whatever, right? And I'm like, no, I'm going to study psychology because this is where the secret is. How do I have access to that? If I'm only
Wow.
13, I have access to this kind of information. Can you imagine if I'm nurturing my mind or intentionally using it to have access to such wisdom? So
Yes.
that's kind of how things got started, really.
What do you think, if you could put your finger on it, what do you think it was that was blocking you from really dreaming before?
That's a really great question. I think that it was fear or trauma actually from the past, because your dreams bring so many meaningful messages to you. And I was in a healing process. So as I was immersed in the healing process, one of the ways to have access to the information I needed to have to experience more healing was through my dreams. So somehow I felt that I blocked that for a while, until this day when I could just dream vividly and I remembered every single detail of the dream. So I don't know, that was my understanding of what happened.
Do you feel like you've now, I mean, you've had plenty of time to dive in on this and kind of study it. And I'm curious, do you feel like there are people who get, even, along well into their 30s, 40s that are still kind of blocked from dreaming?
100%. I still have that experience many times too. I think that our subconscious mind is so smart that it also protects us from
Yeah.
not remembering or not seeing. So since then, I've learned how to have access to this kind of information in using different forms, different ways of doing this, like hypnotherapy. I do that all the time, or visualizations, or even before I go to bed, if I'm really stuck and I really want to have access to something, I'm not having a certain idea, or something's not working in my life, I go to bed asking to see what I have to see, or asking to have an insight about something that I would like to experience. So most of my dreams now, they're a little weird. I have actually wake up feeling a little tired sometimes because they feel like a rehearsal of a possibility. It's almost like a parallel universe that I get to
Wow.
experience. So sometimes I wake up and I don't know if what I experienced was reality or if it was just this rehearsal, you know? But at the same time, when I do that in my dreams, I wake up with some outcomes in mind. Sometimes I wake up with an idea already in mind, or knowing exactly what to do, or, having that sample of the outcome that I wanted. So even if things happen differently during the day, I tapped into that feeling of already achieving the outcome that I want.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but I do ask, if I want to have access to something in my dreams, I ask. And even before I fall asleep, I usually do some hypnotherapy, and I, just to put those commands in my subconscious mind so that my subconscious mind can work on my behalf.
I love that, and I think I love the idea of hypnotherapy post bed. I have done that before, and it's been a while since I've done that. I have to. It's interesting because I find that I've got to be a little bit careful in terms of what I feed my brain immediately before bed, because sometimes, I've talked to people. I don't know if you've heard this, and maybe you've had a similar experience, but I've talked to people who say things like, yeah, you know what? Like if I have something that I'm really trying to kind of get like a problem I'm trying to solve or something like that, I think about it right before I'm going to bed. And then I go to bed and like my subconscious just chews on it, throughout the night. And I seem to wake up the next day and figure out an answer. I start chewing on something like that before bed and I ain't sleeping. Like it's either that or the subconscious, instead of working it out while I'm sleeping, I'm up at 2:00, brain will not shut off. And I'm like, okay, it's go time. We got to just get after it and do it right now. So it's still a little bit of a work in progress for me.
I totally get it. I listen to Joe Dispenza a lot, and Joe Dispenza has two meditations, visualizations, actually, one for the morning and one for the evening. If I listen to his specific meditation for the evening, I'm like you. My conscious brain can't stop thinking because it activates so many ideas, so many possibilities that I feel like working on them right away. So usually in the evening, what I do is more like a clearing, so it's way more focused on relaxing. It's way more focused on gratitude, but also gratitude for the past, but gratitude for the future. And there is an intention. So the intention is something very subtle, something like, I would love to see what I have to see. I would love to learn what I have to learn.
I love that.
To know what I need. I would love to learn, like something like this, instead of solve this problem for me right now. And then the brain is fully on.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And I do think, I will say, there's a major difference when I kind of went through the period where I was doing hypnotherapy immediately before bed. There was something about that of allowing, of simply kind of allowing the brain to be quiet, but allowing that space for suggestion that I think is really powerful. So you're 13, you decide you're going to study psychology and you're not going into the business world. And that's exactly what happened, right?
But you know what? Actually, I did go to the business world. And that was the interesting thing, because I wanted to be in business, but I also wanted to bring the understanding of psychology. So I immersed myself into the human resources world super quickly as well. And that was when I grew very rapidly in my career. So I was studying psychology. I did my first MBA. And then by the time I was, I think, probably 25 or so, I was already the director of human resources of a company. And I had this whole understanding of psychology. So I always had specific programs in the company to support people through coaching, personal development. I was very much into that. So I always had coaches come to me, and I would interview like a lot of people, hire a lot of people. So I was always dealing with people all the time. And you asked like when I switched to becoming a coach. That happened specifically when I was around, like I was probably like 28 or so, and almost 29. And I was so into personal development. I would do all the Tony Robbins events. I would actually travel from Brazil to the US just to go to the events. I would travel just to crew for free. I would do all those things. I would read a book every week. I would do all the courses. And then I started doing coaching certifications so I could be a coach for my team. That's all I wanted, right? To be able to coach my team.
Got it. Yep.
But then I burnt out badly.
Why?
I was diagnosed with burnouts, Here's what happened. I thought I was very healthy. I looked super fit. I would work out every day during lunchtime. I barely ate. I was obsessed with my food. I did struggle with body dysmorphia. Now I realize that, so and I had this idea of peak performance. The peak performance meant for me, I'm going to work 12 hours a day. I'm going to work out every single day. I'm going to eat very strict food, and I'm going to look a certain way until a day where I couldn't move my legs. I was doing leg press, my legs wouldn't move. And I'm
Whoa.
like, what's happening? Like I couldn't do anything with the exercise. And then I went to my doctor and she said, you know what, Mariana, if you don't stop right now, you're going to be one of those cases of very healthy people having a heart attack at the gym before the age of 30. So you're going to have to stop. And then I had to stop working for 3 months, and it was mandatory. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I freaked out. Can you imagine? Like, this is a person that identifies as a peak performer, high achiever, and I'm not working anymore. So that's when I hired a coach to help me change my patterns. And that's also when I realized that I was sitting on the wrong side of the table. You know, I should be working with those leaders or, those peak performers trying to get me to hire them when actually what they needed was something else. So that was when I made a decision. It was such a clear decision in my mind. I remember going to Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins. And then there was a moment he said, it's in the moments of decision, of making a decision that your destiny's changed. When he said that, I'm like, I'm done. This is it.
Boom. Yeah.
Exactly. I'll never forget. So I was still working in corporate. I was a C-level executive and I needed to make a career change. I had a job that was super successful, paid for all of my bills. I had lots of people helping me out. I had a team, with more than 100 people. But it wasn't sustainable anymore. So that was when I flipped the switch and I created a plan to be able to be a full-time coach and be able to reclaim my health again.
I'm curious, if you think back to that engagement with your coach, what was, after you really dug in, was there anything that you could pull out of that experience specifically in terms of the way that that person made you feel, or something specific that they were able to get you to think about, or shift that they were able to get you to make, that still stands out to you today?
Yes. So the number one thing was to realize that I wasn't broken, that lots of other people felt exactly the same way. And secretly, just like I did. So a lot of people would perceive Mariana as this ultra healthy, successful person, but they didn't really know what was happening inside of me. There was a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of feelings of inadequacy. I did struggle with body dysmorphia. So I thought I looked a certain way, but, way worse than I was actually looked. And so there was this secret world that was all within me. And I really thought that was like the worst thing ever, right? The worst secrets ever. And then when I worked with this coach was like, oh, I feel the same way. And she explained to me what was happening. And then I understood, even with, assessments, like, for example, when I did my DISC assessment for the first time, I remember crying because, I could see my natural style and my adaptive style. And I was living from the adaptive style for years. So the adaptive style was the 99D, very high C. So the ideal perfectionist, I would say, right? But my natural style was a high I, low C, it was way more about people. And I'm seeing that contrast, like, what the heck? Like, what did I do? Right, and my nickname was Pitbull. Just to tell you.
Oh, that's awesome.
The adaptive D, the high D, right? That had to create this persona of being, angry and bossy, stuff like that. So when I saw the disc, I'm like, whoa, look at this. I've been living a lie.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So I think that was the the breakthrough,
Yeah, the big aha.
it's like, oh my God, the Mariana is not that bossy at all. She's not a pit bull at all. She's actually super sweet.
It's so funny that you say that, because knowing you in the time that I've known you, I mean, you are excellent under, under fire. If there's difficulty, you easily handle it, like you're in control. But I wouldn't have thought pit bull. Those are not, that wouldn't have come to mind. And for those of you, by the way, this is really interesting. We won't make this all about disc, but
Right.
for those of you that know disc, this is really remarkable, because you and I can look back at this now and go, holy crap. Yeah, that makes like a whole lot of sense. What she's talking about, by the way, is, and if you haven't taken the disc assessment, you should. But you have your natural style and your adaptive style, which adaptive is more like either under pressure or when you're being observed, how you act. So that's just eye-opening. Here we go. I said I was going to learn something that I didn't know before.
Absolutely. It blew my mind. So that since then, I use the disc for everything, because you're trained to behave a certain way. You adapt your natural style to survive, basically. And that's what I've done for years. I was so young. I was always the only woman. I was the youngest. I was always the only one. And there was something I had to do to survive. And that was to be very bossy. I mean, I can be very assertive as well, but it's very different. And I think the other thing that I've learned is that the more you are in this adaptive style, the more like you're trying to survive, the more you suffer. So there was a lot of suffering within, this idea of perfectionism. I understood that perfectionism is when you create such a standard that you suffer. If you're suffering, you're trying to be perfect. And I think that was a huge wake-up call for me.
It is a massive wake-up call. And, I want to hone in on something in particular, which is that you talked about really coming to a very, very clear point of decision. Like you, as Tony says, right, you literally, it was cut off from burn the boats. I know where I'm headed here. And I want to ask, what is your best advice for someone who has come to that decision? Right now, let's just say it's somebody who's got an established, coaching business. Maybe they've even done a little bit of coaching, but like they made the decision, this is what they want all in on. And they haven't yet been able to make it come to fruition. How do you navigate making the decision to actually bring the dream to fruition? And why do you think most people get stuck on that?
Yeah, this is a really great question, because I thought a lot about that. And I think I did execute my beliefs and values around this. So number one thing was to understand that coaching is not a job. If you show up to coaching with the job of the mindset of an employee, let's say, you're still going to have a job. I did step into this coaching universe thinking of creating a coaching business. Because I would be by myself. I saw myself as a solopreneur, and I did come into this with the business mindset, right? I'm building my business. I'm not.
Pause for 1 second. This is so good and so important. What is it about the employee mindset that can keep us stuck from creating the coaching business that we're going to need to create in order to fully pull out of the JOB?
Yes. So number one thing that comes to mind is that, let's say in a job, you're getting paid a salary, but basically right per hour. And you basically, you're surrounded by all the other areas that support the business, so you can be the expert that you are. So let's say you're a salesperson working for a company. This company will provide the back office, the systems, the leads, the marketing, the promotion, the hiring, right? Like there is a business that supports you so you can be the expert, so you can be, the salesperson, let's say. And when you're creating a business, you're everything basically until you can hire a team to be able to handle the specifics. So if you're a coach and you want to be successful as a coach, you got to remember that you now have a business and the business needs marketing, sales, operations, systems, right? The business needs that support to exist. And you still have to be the expert because you're the coach delivering the coaching services. But a lot of coaches neglect that. They forget that they have a business and they only want to be the expert. So with that in mind, they have a really hard time investing. I think like when you have a business, what kind of business is created out there with you without you putting money into the business? There's no such thing, right? You think about any business.
Sure. Yep.
You immediately imagine, well, I'm going to have to invest. If you have a brick and mortar business, you're going to have a place, you're going to get a lease agreement, you're going to have equipment, you're going to hire people. That's a no-brainer. But when you're creating a coaching business, a lot of those coaches, they forget that it's important for you to be able to invest money in the business and that there is, you've got to break even, and usually businesses break even in 2 years. When you have a coaching business, it's much easier for you to break even, meaning you're going to make more money than what you're spending. So a lot of coaches, they don't get into this with this kind of mindset. They just want to receive. And then what they ultimately do, they behave as employees again, just by, let's say, charging per hour, being okay with an income that equals their previous pay, or they want clients to come to them. They are not proactively going out or promoting themselves, just like you would with a job, right? Like usually people come to you.
Yep.
So I did not get into this with an employee mindset. I did get into this with a business owner mindset.
I think this is, holy cow, is this good? This is such valuable advice because you're 100% right. And the hard part about it too, Mariana, is that while there are a lot of really wonderful coaching certifications out there, I don't know a single one that truly prepares you to go be a business owner. They focus on the craft of coaching, which, yes, is wonderful. And I mean, if you suck as a coach, you can be a great business owner and a sucky coach and not make a very good living. So, yeah, I get that. But the hard part is that most people are unprepared. And why this is so valuable is that I think that for anybody who is thinking about starting a coaching business, or maybe you've come to that point of decision and you've been having a hard time, this may very well be the reason why, is that you're still stuck in the employee mindset. And it's not your fault because nobody tells you any differently. And I think one of the other things, too, that is so important is, unless you're somebody who already innately knows that you have to approach this as a business owner, and most don't, I think the value of being surrounded by other people who know that that's what needs to be done is like, I don't know that there is another more valuable thing than that specifically, because if we think about this, most of the people that I know that got into coaching from wherever they came from, I don't know very many. I know a few, but I don't know very many that say, well, yeah, you know what? I had a friend or I had a colleague who was a really great coach and they took me under their wing and they showed me exactly how to do it and how to build my business and all the things. That's not usually the story. For most people, it's like they may have a coach, but they don't talk to the coach about coaching business. And sometimes that coach may or may not be successful on the business side anyway. They don't have a lot of people in their life that are in the industry and that kind of thing. And so it's like, honestly, a lot of times we don't have any, we don't know where to turn when we're first starting that journey. What would you say So you went into it with a business owner mindset. And what would you say would be the second most important piece that allowed you to actually make the separation? Because you made the decision that you wanted to get into coaching, but then there had to be the moment where you cut the cord and you actually went and did the thing.
Yeah.
What helped you to do that?
So there's a practical thing that helped me do that. And there is the mindset about it. I would say I'm talking about the mindset first. So because there is this set of unshakable beliefs that you need to have to be able to jump, to take the quantum leap. So I did condition my identity a lot. There was this brand new identity, not brand new identity, like this real identity that was, coming out like Phoenix Rising or so. Yeah. And I did work a lot on that mindset and that belief set. It was basically identity beliefs, like who I am, what am I capable of doing? Because when you're starting, let's say, coaching career, it's very easy to believe that you don't have what it takes to help people because you're starting. So even that belief led me to get a lot of coaching certifications. I actually got more than 10 coaching certifications total. So I can confirm that none of them actually teach you how to grow a business. None of them.
There you have it.
None of them. Yeah. They can teach you some skill sets, and even in the very intellectual level too, because you only become really great at coaching when you're coaching people for real.
Yes.
In the field.
Yes.
So, but that identity of, you know what? I started working when I was 15. I've been studying psychology since I'm 13. I started my career so early. I did this, I did that. Like all those things, they're like my personal wins that actually translate into experience to be able to help the other person. And then I also realized that if I am one step ahead of anyone, I'm already in a position of leadership. So I don't have to have everything figured out to be able to start helping people, So
that's powerful.
Yeah, because a lot of people are like, oh, when I'm ready, when I have this, when I have that. Like, seriously, I started my coaching career 12 years ago. I wasn't even 30. And my oldest client was 87. For a long time, I really believed I couldn't coach people who are older than me because of that thing. But this client was absolutely grateful because it has nothing to do with age, but it does have something to do with wisdom. Wisdom is very different than age, right? So that identity of the sage or the expert even, or the servant, was absolutely fundamental. I think that a lot of people will spin their wheels on that specific piece. Like they don't feel enough to step up as a coach.
Yeah, you're so right. And I think that so much of this, I think a lot of times we try to put, it's kind of like our current set of beliefs and our identity is sort of like, a gaping wound to some degree that we try to put little Band-Aids on, and oftentimes those little Band-Aids are tactics and strategy and things like that. And we think that we're going to out strategize or out tactic a poor identity, or an identity rather, let's use a different term, an identity that doesn't match who we really want to become and what we really want to do. That's unbelievably powerful. And the reason that I love it so much is that it's a true testament to the fact that everything that we need is truly within us. It is that decision. And it's also that commitment. I know the work that goes into truly cultivating a belief. It's not one day you stand up and you go Stuart Smalley in the mirror, on the deal and say a couple of affirmations. It's day in, day out. It is, it's affirmations, but it's also actions. And I love that you were able to hammer that in for yourself. When you think, when you kind of think of creating financial success as a coach, because for anybody who has started a business and they're in it, but maybe they haven't yet gotten to the financial place in their business where they're able to separate from the job, and they want to. Some people don't. And by the way, if that's you, that's perfectly fine. It's totally cool to have a really awesome job. I actually know a couple people like that. They have killer jobs. They love their job and they do coaching as a side hustle, and it's great. But I'm talking to the person who really wants out of the other thing, and they just haven't yet created the financial success to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. I know that you're really big on how our internal money beliefs can hold us back from doing that. And we can talk about some of the tactical things, yes, but before we go there, what are those money beliefs that you've seen kind of hold us back from claiming what we really honestly, genuinely want?
Yes. I love that you're bringing this up because it has everything to do with the identity. As I said, like there's the second part, which is tactical.
Yeah.
You know how to do it, but the tactical is worthless without the belief work, the identity work, and also your relationship with money. And this is, again, another big distinction between being an employee and being an expert business owner, entrepreneur, creator, value-driven person.
Yep.
The number one, I'm going to talk first, about the belief that we really need to have to make this work. The number one belief, it's right here by my side. It says, my work is of high service and worthy of massive compensation. That is one of the most important beliefs you've got to have right in front of your face every single time. My work is of high service and worthy of massive compensation. Why that belief is so important? Because service comes first. And it's going to be this way. You're probably making a decision to be a coach because you want to impact more people. You want to be of value. You want to truly contribute. And to be worthy of massive compensation is what many people actually miss, that sense of worth. And that's why the identity work is so important, to honor your path, to honor your experience, to honor even the pain that you had to experience to be where you're at, the pain you had to experience to make a decision to be a coach, by the way. There's something that happened there that made you flip that switch. So owning that your worth is the most important thing you have to do, to believe then that you can receive massive compensation for that. So if you don't appreciate your worth, you're never going to understand what high compensation or proper compensation for a service is. And the thing is, a lot of people don't want to declare that, kind of going out to the negative beliefs about money, because they believe that money is not the reason why they're switching careers. That money, if they get too rich, if they become too rich, people are not going to like them anymore. Or if they make too much money, there will be trouble. So there's that saying, more money, more problems, right? So people believe that too. Or money is evil, money is bad. These core beliefs about money will show up in so many different ways. They will believe as well that people don't have enough money to invest. People are poor. People are starving. That it is wrong to charge people for the help that you're providing. That one's is a strong one. It's wrong to make money while helping people. I've heard this so many times. And these beliefs are so deep, right? So deep. They come from religion, from cultures, from your upbringing. That's why I really love this first one, because it kind of it addresses all the mini beliefs about money. Yeah,
really does.
Yeah,
I agree 100%. And so, would you suggest? Let's say that somebody listening to this is willing to explore the idea that maybe they do have a money blockage.
Mm-hmm.
Is the first step to kind of just sit down and go, okay, let me get in a quiet space and be really honest with myself and search internally, both my head and my heart, for what I believe about money and just kind of brain dump it out? Is that the first step, or is it something else?
Yes, that's a great idea, really. I would say sometimes it's hard to capture exactly what the belief is, but maybe look for the emotion. So imagine so not even imagine, but like, here's how you can assess that. That's kind of how I assess the size of your wealth consciousness. Right? Imagine this is a container and you're trying to figure out what's the size of that container. That container, it has the amount of money that you feel comfortable with. So that amount of money that you're comfortable with is an amount of money that you make very easily. So, and by the way, that container keeps increasing. So I'm pretty sure that if you guys are watching this, at some point you made $500 per month, and that was a great thing. For whatever reason, you could be a child or a teenager. You made your first 500, like, yes, this is great. And then you kept making this until you made 1,000, until you made 2,000, until you made 3K be your new normal, 5K be your new normal. We keep increasing that the size of that wealth container. We make a certain amount of money become the new normal. We all have that magical number. So capture that number. If you don't know what that is, look at your income and see what is the average of the past 12 months. That's probably going to be your normal, right? If you could make that amount of money on average for a whole year, it's not necessarily hard. But here's how you find your barriers or the boundaries of that container. You double that number. So double that number now and ask yourself, are you going to hurt someone when you make that amount of money? Is someone going to be upset when you make that amount of money? Is something bad going to happen with you if you make that amount of money? And you're not necessarily going to come up with the idea, but your body will react to it. If your body is like, something weird happened in me, I feel nausea, I feel tight, I feel contracted, like, your body will react to those things. If your answer is like, no, I'm chill, my body's great, I would feel great doubling that number, great, double that again. So let's say you found $5,000, double that, $10,000. You don't find anyone that would be upset. Nothing bad would happen with you. Double that again. Now you're making $20,000. Is someone going to be upset if you make $20,000? Is something bad potentially going to happen with you? Is this going to hurt someone? Is it going to disappoint someone? And you keep doubling that until you find a number that will be a big no. Like, the body will be like, no, this is not okay. This person will be upset. This person's not going to like this. I'm not going to like this. This is dangerous. And you do that so you can understand your limitations, because sometimes we believe that, let's say, making $10,000 is hard in this example, but the body can be like, let's do it. There's no limitation here happening with me. But if it's too big, if your body's not okay with that, you're going to subconsciously sabotage that goal all the time. So when you do that, then you can ask yourself, what is the emotion that's coming up for me? And then that emotion can be a really great sign of what is the core belief about money. For example, if you feel yucky, like, oh my God, this is too much money. Why would I want to make that amount of money? Maybe you feel like money is greedy, or if you feel something really dangerous is going to happen, maybe you believe that money is a bad thing. So you can now give names, let's say, to the belief based on how your body reacts. So I found that to be way more accurate, Ryan, instead of just being the mind, like, again, knowing how deep we can go.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And really it tapping into that feeling. And I love the words that you use around it, wealth consciousness. This is beautiful. So So let's say that we get ourselves unblocked. And by the way, I want to just mention for the person listening to this right now, if you're further along in the journey, and let's just say that, you might be blown and going, you might be 30, 40, 50K a month in your business, but you recognize internally that you've been striving and wanting for more. Mm-hmm. This is every bit as applicable. And by the way, it's applicable when you're at $1 million or $2 million. It doesn't make any difference.
100%. I must say that this is exactly the same thing. It's just the size of the container that changes. So yes, you can be in a $1 million container. Believe me, that's one of the hardest for you to break through. So the 2 million will feel way harder than making the first million. It's the same thing. So I'm just giving you random examples just to make the math simple and easy.
I love it. So let's just say that we go through the exercise, we kind of find out like where the limitation is. We seem to find ways to unblock that. Obviously, you and I could sit here and talk about sales and marketing and things like that we've got to be doing. We know that we can't not be having conversations with people. More conversations leads to more relationships, leads to more sales, all of those things. We've got to be embracing sales, all of that good stuff. One of the things, though, that I want to hone in on with you, because you're so good at this, is how do we, let's just say that we get the right help that we need with some sales and some marketing. We get some of the right training to get us past those humps in our business. And now we've got to kind of figure out how to actually run a profitable business. Number one, how would you define the difference between revenue and profit? Because I think that once people get rid of those blockages, right, around the earning in general, they get excited and things start to happen. But they often find themselves in the spot where they're like, man, like, I know on paper, this looks like it ought to be really good right now, but I'm not bringing home anywhere near as much as I should. Mm-hmm. I don't yet feel the abundance in terms of my bank account and what I get to do every day. So what's the difference between revenue and profit, and how do we actually now use the tactics to become profitable?
Yeah. I love this question. So difference between revenue and profit. So here's how I see this. Revenue is how much you work for the business. Profit is how much the business works for you.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say it that way. Say that one more time. It's so good.
Revenue is how much you work for the business. Profit is how much the business works for you. That's what it is. Because revenue is you generating sales, you working for the business, you making the business grow, making it beautiful, right? But profit is actually how the business works for you, because that's what you keep. So you can be working so hard for the business, but at the end of the day, there's no profit or not enough profit. This business doesn't work for you. So that's the difference.
That's brilliant. So we're getting a little bit close on time here. Yeah. But I got a couple of other quickies here to kind of put a bow on this. We're going to need like 2 or 3 more episodes.
So this is episode 1, guys.
Yeah, that's right. Tuned. Episode 1. We're coming back for more. So that is a beautiful distinction. And so what is one thing that, 1 or 2 small things that we can do to get the business to work for us more than we are working for the business?
Yes. So one of the most important things is to start to make this business work for you. And it can be something like, like how much money this business actually generates for you, what kind of lifestyle this business allows you to have, what kind of freedom you actually have from this business, with this business. And if you have none, if the business is not making money for you, if the business not generating the lifestyle you want, or the business not generating the type of freedom you appreciate. I mean, like types of freedom, because there are many different types, right? There is money, financial freedom, time, location, choice. I just started working with a client. He was super specific. He's like, I don't care how much money I make necessarily. I just care about my time. I'm working too much. My goal is to work less. So when we realize what is the gap, we have to assess what are the subconscious decisions that we are making that are sabotaging that outcome. For example, if you keep working 10, 12 hours a day on the business and you believe that that's how you have to work for the business because now you're so worried about the top line, that's something that I challenge immediately. So, or if you're not experiencing the lifestyle that the business needs to create for you, we challenge that immediately. So I often ask my clients to have samples of like a sample day of how life could look like when this business works for them, or how life could look like when this business starts to pay them what they deserve. And something crazy happens, Ryan. The business starts to listen and the business starts to provide. So even like a couple of months ago, a client was making already $1 million with the business, but still paying himself whatever he was paying himself when he started the business 10 years ago. We fixed that. Exactly. So we fixed that by just asking him how much money would he like to earn from that business to feel satisfied, and made that decision. All of a sudden, right, clients are showing up, better clients, more profitable clients are coming to fruition. So the first thing for everybody here is to really ask yourself, what would that look like to have a business that works for you? And give yourself samples of that. Maybe you can't really pay yourself exactly what is that bigger amount, but you can start with something else. You know, you can start with a lower amount so you can feel that experience, and then the business will start to listen. And I do that because if you don't give yourself opportunities to experience how this business will finally work for you, you will resent the business, you will resent your clients, you will resent yourself. And then you catch yourself in this snowball effect of helplessness, right? That nothing really works. So I know that sometimes if you believe you're not making a profit, we look into that immediately to see how profitable your business is. And it's many times it is because you're not charging enough. It is because you're not managing your expenses enough, or you're not selling every day. There's something that you're not doing that's probably a blind spot that's not happening for this business to start working with you. So that would be the second thing, just to look for the blind spots and see what are the things that could immediately help you make more money or have more time or have that lifestyle right away, and work on making that the new norm. Work on making that the new standard. But I do believe that we need to give ourselves like an opportunity to have these experiences, even if it's just for a day. Like imagine on a Wednesday, you know what, instead of working 10 hours today, I'm going to work 2 hours today on a Wednesday, just because I promise you nobody's going to die. You're not going to die. The business is going to die. No client's going to die.
Yes.
But you're going to want more of that.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. This is so good. We could do this for 2-3 hours easy. And next time we jump on there, we'll do this again. Next time we jump on, I want to dig into a lot more of like the CEO whisperer stuff, because there's just, you gave just a little bit here today, and there's so much more that we can unpack on that side of it. You're so brilliant. And I want to, before we wrap up, I just want to take a minute to say thank you to you for the human being that you are, the incredible example that you are. You truly do embody somebody who goes out there and lives what she talks about and teaches and preaches every day, Mariana. I see it. I have for years, and it's such a joy to watch what you do with your clients and to see you in your element, to have time to spend with you doing things like this. it's awesome. And the world is a better place because you're in it and you're kicking ass. So,
Oh, thank you. Same thing goes to you as well, Ryan. Same thing. It's such a privilege to have access to people like you that, experience, that embody what you say, that walk the walk or walk the talk every day. And we need more people like that too. So I know that everybody's listening to this. You have a calling, you have a purpose, and this calling, this purpose can work for you. You've got to be wealthy. Oh, and just to wrap this up, I do believe that we need more wealthy people, benevolent, wealthy people,
Amen.
because we do so many wonderful things in the world. And money gives us access, money gives us choices, and it is a good thing. It is not a bad thing. It is a good thing. So that's why you have to feel worthy. You have to feel that you deserve more. And the more you receive, the more you will give. And that is the flow of life. So thank you so much for having me, Ryan. It's always a pleasure. And I hope I could add some value here to everybody listening to this.
Likewise, Gal. Thank you so much for jumping on. And one last thing, I have a question for you. Based on everything that we chatted about today, is there anything that you can think of? You got so much wonderful stuff that's out there, and I'd love to give people an experience of that. Is there anything specific that you'd like us to point people to? And certainly we can link, things up in the show notes, or anything specific that we can point somebody to today.
Yes, that's a great point. So I'm an open book. If you guys Google me, you're going to find me, but you can always send me an email directly to me. So if you can share that information, or just find me on Facebook and LinkedIn specifically. I believe that currently my main TV channel has been LinkedIn, and I post every single day there.
Your stuff is so good.
Oh, thank you so much. My goal is to truly add value. So if there's something I can say that day that will activate you, that will get you to think differently, I surely will. So I think that those are like very easy ways to reach out to me and to talk. That's what
I love that. That is perfect. Yeah. And you know what? It's a brilliant point. Your stuff on LinkedIn is amazing. We'll make sure that we link up your LinkedIn profile in the show notes so that people can easily access it. Please go follow Mariana and eat up her stuff. She's amazing. Can't wait to have her back. And thank you for listening to this episode of the Coaching Equation Podcast. Until next time, take care, everybody.